Hello and welcome to the Liz Experiment YouTube channel. I'm your host Liz, better known as the Liz and the Liz Experiment, and this is the channel where I record field notes from my journey towards architecting my best life. You may recognize my background here today because I'm back in Lyle, Washington, a little bit earlier than expected, but hey, you gotta go with the flow, right? And today I'm gonna talk about, how I realize that I can choose quality of my experience over quantity. I'm also going to talk about how I don't think I'm ever going to fit in. And as a matter of fact, I don't think any of us ever fit in. And finally, I'm going to talk about how I'm reminded that, you know what? We just got to let go and listen to the wind. So, with all that, let's get started.
Life's a foolish game. Do you ever feel the same? Well, maybe we could change. Turn the ship another way.
Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm back here in Lyle a little bit early. Unfortunately, the homeowners of the house where I was sitting in Hood River, they got sick on their trip and had to come home a few days early. Luckily, they're okay. Everybody's feeling better. And lucky for me, my friends are amazing here in Lyle, and they allowed me to come back and hang with them. And so let's start with talking about what I learned and what I worked on this week. Well, I guess we don't start with that. I guess that's what I talk about. Anywho's, the first thing that I mentioned in the intro was that I recognized that, and I should say, I finally had the courage to take the step in putting the quality of my experience over the quantity. And what I mean by that is, I'm here in Lyle until I'm recording this on March 1st of 2020, so it's a Sunday. So I'm here for another 2 to 3 weeks, about 2.5 weeks. And then I'm going to be house sitting for my friends in Oakland and my dear friend Faye, the Formosa mountain dog. And after that, I have a month free. And I recognize, and I've been saying this for a while, like I need a break to just kind of live, and resettle in after all of the journey that I've been on for the past 2 years and just kind of process. And so I rented an Airbnb stay in Portland, and I went all out in that. Instead of renting a room in somebody's place, I rented an apartment to myself, and with the things that I needed in a place where I didn't need a car, so that's cool. And that was a hard decision to make because it meant that was the most money I've spent on accommodation in 2 years, and I recognize that is I'm very grateful to be able to say that and have all this opportunity. I think you guys know that about me by now, but it was still a very hard decision. And when I spoke with my friend about it, I'm like, hey, I need help in making this decision. He said, let me ask you something. What is your goal here? What is your priority? Is it quality of experience, or is it saving money? And when he put it that way, I recognized I really, really wanted to put the quality of experience first. And so I did. I rented a place. I feel great about that. I also kind of feel still a little guilty about spending the money, but I'll talk about that later in this particular chat. So the second thing that I mentioned that I had learned and that I'm working on this week, it was this idea that I don't think I'm ever going to quite fit in, and I don't think any of us are meant to fit in, because I don't think there's a thing that we're supposed to fit into. I think we just are ourselves. And what do I mean by that? So I was reading the book Siddhartha, when I'll provide a link to what that book is in the show description area. But I was reading it, and there was a line in there where Siddhartha is, it's a fictional book that's kind of based off of self-reflection and oneness and all these things. And he says he meets the Buddha in the forest or something. And he says to the Buddha, like, how can you be teaching people these things about how to find themselves and all this doctrine? How do you even describe any of that? Because we can't describe any of those things because they only happen within us. And the words that we use to describe them are what, in effect, will distance us, will create a distance between what's going on inside us and and the explanation of what's going on inside us. Or maybe that explanation itself is the distance. And I was thinking about that because I recognize, and for those of you who know me, I I recognize how what I'm doing is a bit different, but I think what all of us are doing is different than everybody else. Even if we're doing things that seem normal, or, I say normal, like accepted, what we're supposed to, all these terms, I still think you're doing it your own way. And so, what I really worked on this week was accepting that. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be alone, or that I'm going to be lonely, or that nobody can support me. You heard me talk about this in the video last week, where I feel tremendous amount of love and support. So it's not that I need to fit in to have people around me who I love and care about and interact with. It's that there's nothing to fit into, and me kind of dropping this notion that one day I'm going to be part of the group and feel at home in that way is probably a weight I know I don't need to carry. I have everything I need just right here within inside myself, and others can support me through that, and I can support them through that. But we're never going to be one and the same, and that's okay. That's just that, and more than okay. That's a beautiful thing, and that kind of maybe relates to the last thing I worked on this week. Well, I don't want to say the last thing. I worked on other things. Including, might I add, I was interviewed for a podcast called the Simplifiers Podcast this week, and that episode will be coming out on March 10th, I think. And I'll be sure to announce that to you guys and provide links and all that stuff, but I'm super excited. So I worked on that this week too. But the final thing that I wanted to talk about in this video was I really was reminded about the need to let go of old energy to let new energy come in. And this started early in the week. I have a weekly status call with my friends, one of my dear friends back in Brooklyn. And she was saying, like, Liz, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just lost a big number of clients in my business, and I don't know what this means, and I don't know what I'm going to do. It's just angst, and I understand it, and I empathize it, because we all feel it, especially if you're a consultant of any kind, a coach, a consultant. And what came to me in that moment was this realization for her. Like, I said, these clients that you have, do they pay your ideal rate? And she's like, no. I'm like, so you have in effect gotten rid of clients who have maximized your time, and they've benefited from their work with you and you working with them, but you've made space for new clients who will pay your ideal rate. And that idea reminded me, like, hey, that's what this whole energy life thing is about. So I rented the apartment, as I said, and I immediately, in true Liz fashion, I started berating myself for the extravagance. You've been living so like thin, not physically thin, but like cheaply, frugally, whatever the word is, frugal for so many months, trying to create savings, trying to give myself savings for these times, like in consulting, when I don't. Usually January, February are slow months, and I usually have that same angst. When am I going to get work? What's going to happen? I'm like, and you just spent how much money on an apartment when you didn't need it, absolutely need it. You don't have a project. The stock market is down because of the coronavirus, and you just lost how much money of your saving, whatever, and as I did that, I put myself in I saw myself in my friend's shoes, and I saw that I was doing what she had done, which is natural and it's all good. But I also recognized, hey, like, you have lived so frugal so that you can have these quality moments, even when maybe financial times aren't as good. And in essence, by kind of not having projects and spending some money on things that matter, you're letting go of energy that you can now bring back in, like this renewed energy of a really great project with the perfect client, or even more of a experience when I'm in Portland in April. Or I'm kind of making room for these things by letting go of the old stagnant, heavy energy. And when I really sat with that, as I encouraged my friend to do as well, I found a profound sense of peace and tranquility. And so that that's what I'm hoping to carry throughout the week as I go into, I don't know, and the weeks and the months ahead. So that was this week, y'all. It was an emotional week because I did change houses earlier than expected. But again, as I took a step back and just recognized, you know what, all of that, I was done with that. That's not negative. That ran its course. Now it's on to the next thing. So as I mentioned, that's it for this week. I want to thank Hans Adam featuring Snowflake for the intro and out the music that I use in the intro and outro. If you like this video, come on, y'all, give it a thumbs up. Like, I want to know that people are watching and listening. I guess I do need the external validation a little bit, but come on, who doesn't? Even Siddhartha needed it time and time again in the book. You know what I'm saying? If any of this rings true for you, or if you have questions or what have you, please leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. And if you want to get these videos every week, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Until next week, when I most likely will be back here in Lyle, thanks for watching.